Hey everybody, we're gathered here again to talk about Elder Scrolls clones, or Scrolls-likes, as I am branding them. If you haven't seen my first video on these types of games, I highly recommend watching that as it lays the groundwork for this one. And as we wait for games like Avowed and Wayward Realms, here are some more lesser known titles that are all currently playable at the time of making this video, and that fit the criteria of Elder Scrolls clone, or Scrolls-like, that I feel some of you, or maybe all of you, might be interested in. Like I said, if you haven't watched the first video, I laid down some prerequisites for what I believe makes an Elder Scrolls game. Number 1, the game has to be playable in first person. Elder Scrolls is a first-person series at heart. Yes, you can play in third person, and there are games that are entirely played in third person, like Elder Scrolls Redguard, but first person is the primary playstyle. 2. The game does not have to have an open world. Some Elder Scrolls games in the past were just dungeon crawlers. 3. No turn-based games. Elder Scrolls is real-time combat and real-time movement. However, I believe that there were 2 mobile Elder Scrolls games that were grid-based. The final criteria is a high or low fantasy setting. You see, no other setting really works for an Elder Scrolls style game, because once you get past medieval fantasy, you usually end up going into another setting that has advanced firearms, and once you introduce a weapon like an assault rifle or an SMG, it's no longer an Elder Scrolls game because you have to balance the game around these rapid fire weapons. And now you've just made Far Cry. Unless you were to maybe design a dystopian world where firearms for some reason or another became useless, or the resources to make gunpowder maybe ran out, leading to melee and kinetic energy weapons like bows and crossbows be the primary way of killing each other, that would be pretty cool. I guess it'd kind of just be Hellgate London then. But hey, an Elder Scrolls style game set in a Hellgate London universe, or style universe, would actually be really cool. Hellgate London was awesome. If anyone wants to make that kind of game, like a Hellgate London Elder Scrolls mix kind of game, and needs a writer, I am here. Now, if anyone has any other games that they believe fits into this criteria of an Elder Scrolls clone, list them down below. Or if you feel that a game I picked doesn't fit into this category, tell me why. I'm also going to try something different for this video. I will mention if I own or have played the game in the background. If I have, I'm going to go into more detail and feature more gameplay footage in the background. If I don't own the game, I'm probably just going to put footage of the trailer. Alright, game number 1, The Northern Journey. This game was released in August of 2021 and it is very good. Made by a single developer. Single developer games are either terrible messes or amazing masterpieces. And I think Northern Journey falls into the latter. I bought this game during the December Steam sale and have put several hours into it already. It's really good. There's so much I could talk about this game, but I can't, as this video is about multiple games, and I wouldn't have enough time. Northern Journey is set in a dark fantasy version of Scandinavia. The game is very unique and somewhat unnerving in its graphical styling. The graphics seem to be very PS2/Dreamcast inspired, and despite this, the environments are beautiful. When you're not being chased by horrific demon insects, take the time to take in the breathtaking scenery. Then, be horrified at the appearance of the friendly NPCs of the game. These NPC models tip the creepy, unnerving scale to the max. Their low-poly designs, emotionless faces, and their janky, mechanical automaton-style movements is just... it really brings everything together. And it's not just the NPCs. The enemy variety in this game is crazy. There's lots of spiders and spider variants. Also, lots of other enemies, like mostly bugs. You're dealing with a lot of bugs, but other horror monster type enemies are here every now and then. There's bosses and mini bosses. And the only bad thing, or to some a good thing, is that the game is insanely difficult. Mostly because your starter weapon, the slingshot, is awful, and enemies do a crap ton of damage to you. You do eventually get more weapons like bows and crossbows, but there is no melee weapon. Ammo is also scarce for the crossbows, so you really have to rely on the slingshot. So you could say this isn't an actual Elder Scrolls clone, but honestly it takes influences from so many places and makes them its own. I thought I would put in this video. Northern Journey is an amazing game, and if you have a PC, go buy it. And if you do happen to buy it, have fun in the troll hole. Now for game number 2. The Black Masses. I also bought this one during the Steam sale. Black Masses is being made by Brilliant Game Studios, the developers behind Ultimate Epic Battle Simulator. You know, that game where millions of NPCs can fight each other? Yeah, they decided to take that technology and for some reason try and make an open-world medieval fantasy post-apocalyptic RPG game. That's a mouthful. I'm guessing they were inspired by those Skyrim giant battle videos that were popular on YouTube several years ago. The game is in early access, and with all early access games, it's incomplete. So keep that in mind while I tell you about the game so far. Black Masses is a fully open world game, and the one review I saw described it as a medieval Dying Light. I would have to say I agree with that. But a medieval Dying Light is basically an Elder Scrolls game, and that's why it's on this list. Now you won't find cities filled with tons of friendly townfolk, as the cities have been overrun with zombies. But there are friendly NPCs around the map, and they do offer quests. Not many quests, but there are quests here nonetheless. For the enemies, while you can tell from the background footage the primary enemy is your standard mindless fleshbag zombie, which can be found all over the map, either by themselves or in insanely giant swarms. There are other enemies in the game, like these large evil knights that are honestly very annoying to fight. Also, there's apparently a spellcaster type enemy according to the trailer. Haven't found it yet. I'm not sure if they have plans to add any more enemies, but for an early access game, I think this is pretty good. Now, to fight these enemies, there is a variety of weapons like swords, axes, maces, knives, you know, the works. There's also legendary uniques like the divine weapons and several types of black powder guns and crossbows. Melee weapons and the environment are not the only way to kill zombies in this game. You also have magical abilities. Except this game does magic a bit differently. Instead of casting lightning bolt or fireball, magic is basically like a melee ability. I believe the only one in this game is currently this flaming spin attack, but I could be wrong as I haven't gotten another magic ability. I wish the best of luck to these developers and hope they have a lot of success in the future. The Black Masses is also on Steam, and I will have it linked down in the description. Now for this next game. And not every game on this list is going to be good, or even decent, or mediocre. Some of them I'm going to list are going to be bad. And that is especially true for this next one. Dark Shadows, Army of Evil. Developed by Burien Media Enterprises and published by Volan Nolan Games. This game does not work on most computers, but somehow I got it to work on mine. Now, the game will only load to the main menu, and if you try starting the game immediately, it will crash. However, I got it to work by basically going into this terrible, awful menu system they have, and turning every graphical setting they had off. I don't know which setting is causing it to crash, but with all of them turned off, it works. Now, this game was only like 46 cents during the Steam sale, so I'm not too bothered by buying it. Dark Shadows Army of Evil was released in 2014, so a little old by the standards of this video, but hey, why not include it, right? I have no idea what they were going for with this game. The character models look like they were inspired by Two Worlds 2, the environment sort of looks like Oblivion, but not really. I mean, it just looks like they took a bunch of assets or concepts from a bunch of 2000s RPGs and just shoved them together. Honestly, the game is just weird. Combat's weird, story's weird, everything's weird. The developer has never made any more games, and they did a Let's Play of their own game. Kind of strange, but sure. The controls are also terrible and don't make any bit of sense. Pressing I will invert your controls. J and K will change your FOV. F1 is this weird menu that doesn't want to close. Q and E are your inventory somehow. There are no quest markers, so a lot of times you'll have no idea what you're supposed to be doing. Instead, the game just tells you once, and you better remember that. Honestly, this game's terrible. And enough of that. If you want to try it, it's on Steam. I'll have it linked down below. Next game on the list. Graven. A dark fantasy RPG developed by Slipgate Studios and published by 3D Realms. I bought Graven, again, during the recent Steam sale. Graven is cool. Graven is fun. Graven is, well, kind of lacking content, at least at the time of making this video. They do have a roadmap, and have released a trailer for what's going to be coming to the game. Plus, this game has a publisher behind it, so it's not an indie game, but more of a AA or B tier game. I have high hopes for Graven. The roadmap looks good, and if they stick to it, I think it will be very popular in the future. As you can tell, it's pretty retro in its styling, very 90s or maybe early 2000s graphic style, but made with a higher resolution. The game's combat consists of several different weapon types as well as magical spells. There are both melee and ranged weapons. Enemy variety right now is good and will only get better in the future. Graven is a very promising game so long as it continues to be developed. Now on to the next game, and let's say it's very retro inspired. It's a 2.5D style game. The game is Arthurian Legends, developed and published by Scholaro Games. I think that's how you say it. It was released October 4th of 2021. And don't worry, this one is not in early access. I don't own this game, so trailer footage only. Arthurian Legends has very positive reviews on Steam, and seems to be very inspired by multiple first-person RPGs, dungeon crawlers, and slashers of the 90s. Kind of looks to me like a combination of Witch Haven, The Elder Scrolls Arena, and maybe some Anvil of Dawn. Overall, from the trailer and several YouTube videos I've watched, it seems like a very good game. Linked down below. Now, on to the next game. This one is available on PC and PS4, so the first console game on this list. Kings of Lorn, The Fall of Ibris. This one's probably the highest graphical quality of any game on the list. I've never played this game, but Kings of Lorn is weird, as it's not an open world RPG, or a dungeon crawler. It's a survival horror game. You know, like Resident Evil or Outlast. You're probably wondering, why am I including this on the list? Because I need games to fill up this list, and it's a first-person dark fantasy game with real-time combat. So it fits most of my criteria. Kings of Lorn has pretty mixed reviews on Steam. However, there's only 36 reviews, which seems extremely low to me and really weird. Now, several of the negative reviews are complaining that the game is not Hexen, or not a modern Hexen, which seems like a really weird complaint when the description of the game says it's a survival horror. I mean, I don't go into Resident Evil and complain it's not the new Medal of Honor, or the new Doom, right? I don't know, just weird complaints for me. From the videos I watched, it's a very, very slow-paced game, like all survival horror games. Well, I shouldn't say all, as several survival horrors have been turning to action, or turned to action at one point. Like I said, the game's available on PC and PS4. Links will be in the description. Now for the final game on the list. Ravensword Undaunted. There was a Ravensword game included in the last video. That was Ravensword Shadowlands, an Oblivion-style clone mobile game that got ported to PC and consoles. But Ravensword Undaunted is a very different game, made straight for the PC. It's being developed by Tramatra Interactive and published by Crescent Moon Games. Honestly, this game really reminds me of Hellraid. You know, that amazing looking medieval fantasy game from Techland that they just stopped making back in, what, like 2014, 2015? And then for some reason used those assets to make it a DLC for Dying Light? Ah, Hellraid. I wanted to play that game so much. So yeah, here's Ravensword Undaunted. Well, it's an early access game, so the premise of a good game is here, and like all early access game, it needs more content and more polish. You have this hub world where you level up and select which level you want to go to, and for some reason, it immediately made me think of Crash Bandicoot. because Crash Bandicoot usually has a hub world where you do all that as well. The enemy variety right now is very weird. It's 99.99% skeletons, but there was this random huge werewolf on this one level. But, like I said, it's mostly skeletons. I've encountered regular skeletons, skeleton archers, big skeletons with tower shields, and I think there's another type of skeleton that will explode, but I'm not sure. Like I said, the game's incomplete, but I have high hopes for this one as well, as it plays really good. Like, the melee combat feels good, the dashing feels good. The only thing that kind of doesn't feel good is the staffs, because they're kind of like limp and you just kind of point them out. There's no real like impact with them, if you know what I'm saying. Again, I will have it linked down below. And that's the end of this video. Like I said, if you know any other games that you believe fit the criteria of Elder Scrolls clone or Scrolls-like, I will feature them in another video, as there are more games. Especially upcoming games that are going to fit into this style of series. Alright, see you in the next one.